The ground trembled as if the earth itself had come alive. Smoke rolled across the battlefield, swallowing men, wire, and flame in one endless blur. German soldiers clung to their rifles, eyes wide with disbelief, as something massive and metal emerged from the haze. "Commander, something four-cornered is coming," a sentry screamed. And then, through the fog, it appeared a shape that defied everything they knew about war. A steel beast crawling forward, grinding the earth beneath it, bullets bouncing off its armor like raindrops. To the terrified men in the trenches, it wasn't a machine, it was a monster. The world had just witnessed the birth of a new kind of warfare, one that would forever change the face of battle just a few hours earlier. Before sunrise on September 15, 1916, the British lines were alive with anticipation. In the distance, the thunder of artillery shook the morning air. Inside the metal beasts, the Mark I tank's crews sat in suffocating heat, clutching their pistols and gas masks, not knowing whether they were about to make history or die trying. The smell of oil and gunpowder filled the cramped space. Every vibration rattled their nerves. The engines roared, and with that sound, humanity crossed an invisible line from the age of men to the age of machines. Before we continue deeper into this incredible moment, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss our next cinematic explorations into the battles that shaped the modern world. As the tanks rolled forward, the Germans were caught completely off guard. Many of them had never even seen a motor car, and now they were facing steel monsters that could crush trees and barbed wire as if they were paper. Machine guns rattled, but the bullets did nothing. The beasts kept advancing, unstoppable, relentless. Some soldiers froze in horror. Others fled, throwing down their weapons. The first tank battle in history had begun, and for a brief moment, the impossible seemed within reach. But to understand how these monsters came to exist, we must step back to a time before the steel giants roamed the battlefield. 2 months earlier, the British had been broken. The Battle of the Somme had begun in blood and disaster on July 1, 1916. Tens of thousands had fallen in the first few hours. The artillery had failed to destroy the German trenches, and the machine guns tore through the advancing men. Every inch of ground was soaked in sacrifice. The generals knew they needed something new, something that could cross trenches, survive bullets, and strike fear into the heart of the enemy. In that desperation, the idea of the tank was born, a weapon that could bring motion back to a war trapped in mud and wire. Behind the front lines, engineers and soldiers worked in secrecy, constructing strange armored vehicles with treads instead of wheels. They looked like moving fortresses, crude, heavy, and loud. The project was so secret that even the crews who would drive them didn't fully understand what they were. They were told only that these landships could change everything. When one of the first commanders saw it in action, he couldn't hide his excitement. "No first child has ever been greeted with as much joy as this," he wrote. "We drive around crushing trees. We imagine entering Berlin with it." They didn't know it yet, but they were building the future. By the night of September 14th, those machines, 49 in total, stood ready near the village of Flers. Their orders were simple yet impossible. Reach the enemy trenches, destroy the machine guns, and open the way for the infantry. But even before the first one reached battle, problems began. Engines overheated, gears jammed. Many broke down in the mud before even seeing the front line. Only 30 made it into battle. Yet what followed would echo through history. The first tanks, crawled toward the German positions, engines roaring like beasts from the underworld. The Germans heard the noise long before they saw the shape. At first, they thought it was artillery being dragged forward until they saw the moving walls of steel. Panic spread through the trenches. "The devil is coming," one soldier screamed. Some tried to fight back, firing point blank at the approaching monsters, but their bullets bounced harmlessly away. The tanks crushed barbed wire, rolled over trenches, and unleashed fire from their side-mounted machine guns. For the first time, the machine gun, the undisputed king of the battlefield, met its match in one sector near the village of Flers. A single tank plowed straight through the German front, clearing trenches and scattering defenders. It captured over 300 German soldiers in minutes. Across the battlefield, chaos reigned. The psychological shock was unlike anything seen before. Men who had faced months of bombardment and death now fled from a single mechanical giant. The British soldiers, watching from behind, could hardly believe it. Their toys were working. But not everything went according to plan. The tanks were slow and clumsy. Mud swallowed them whole. Engines failed under pressure. Some got stuck in shell craters. Others caught fire. Of the 49 tanks that set out that morning, only 9 reached their objectives. 17 broke down before battle, 9 failed mid-operation, and the rest were abandoned. Communications were a disaster. The roar inside the tanks was so deafening that crews couldn't even hear each other's voices. One commander, desperate to move faster, fired his pistol into the engine in frustration. Another forgot pigeon feed, the only way to send messages to headquarters. The birth of mechanized warfare was messy, brutal, and far from perfect. Yet, despite all its failures, something extraordinary had happened that day. The tank had proven itself, not as a miracle weapon, but as an idea. An idea that could change everything. The generals saw it. So did the soldiers who survived. 4 days later, British Commander Douglas Haig ordered another 1,000 tanks. He knew this was only the beginning. Across the Channel, the French had also been working on their own armored vehicles. General Jean-Baptiste, a man of remarkable vision, had declared, "Victory will go to the side that mounts a 75mm gun on a vehicle that can cross all terrain." His words would prove prophetic. The French produced the Schneider CA-1, their first tank, but it was awkward, unreliable, and prone to getting stuck in trenches. Its gun was too short, its weight uneven, and it looked more like a moving oven than a war machine. American officer George Patton, who fought alongside the French, would later call it the worst tank of the war. Yet even this failure pushed the technology forward. Each mistake revealed something new about how machines could fight. The French didn't give up. Another tank, the Saint-Chamond, followed, larger, heavier, and even more flawed. Its enormous gun protruded 2 meters forward, making it almost impossible to cross trenches. The Germans quickly adapted, widening their trenches so that these massive tanks would simply fall in and get trapped. For every new machine, there was a new countermeasure. War was evolving faster than ever before. And as both sides learned, it wasn't just the attackers who changed, the defenders did too. The Germans began developing armor-piercing bullets and deeper trench systems. Artillery was moved between lines to fire directly at approaching tanks. The arms race had begun. By late 1916, the Western Front was a living laboratory of terror. Britain and France raced to perfect their designs, while Germany studied the captured tanks in detail, preparing to join the race. Every nation realized that whoever mastered this new weapon first could dominate the next stage of the war. And behind the smoke and steel, another truth emerged. War had forever changed. No longer was it about bravery or speed. It was about machines, industry, and endurance. The age of knights and cavalry was gone. The age of engines had arrived. As 1917 approached, more tanks rolled off production lines, sleeker, faster, and deadlier. The next time they appeared, they wouldn't come alone. They'd be joined by aircraft, creeping artillery, and coordinated assaults. The world was stepping into a new era, one where machines would define victory and death alike. And yet, the men who first rode those steel beasts would never forget the terror of that morning in 1916, when they looked out through narrow slits into a world on fire and realized they were no longer soldiers on horseback, but the first riders of an unstoppable, mechanical age. Subscribe now and ring the bell, so you don't miss the next chapter, when these steel monsters evolve from crude experiments into the unstoppable force that would shape the future of modern warfare.